What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Thursday night's Airbrush Down Dirty Tricks. Back after a couple week break, been a lot of stuff going on. Wanted to make sure we got a video in, and let's see who we got in tonight. Let's make sure. I think we got some audio here. We got audio. We got video. I think we're good. Let me know if the sound is okay. If I need to adjust anything, please let me know. What do we got here? Airbrush Bar, Brian Moore, Todd Keith, Ray Shea, Darren Plank, I think it's on John Parsons. Yep, James Kraft. What's going on, everyone? Let's see if I can scroll down and see any more people here. Okay, yep, good. Awesome. I'm kind of new to airbrushing. Tattoo 16 years. Oh, very cool, man. I've never tattooed, but I've had a lot of tattoo clients, a lot of tattoo friends. There's some similarities and a lot of differences, but just like tattooing, it's learning the tool. And obviously the surface and materials, but your art skill, once you get past the tools and how the tools work and how everything works, then your art skill, your natural ability to shade and shadow just comes into play. So you're way ahead of the game from like a new beginner. You just got to learn the tool. All right, hope everything sounds good. No one's complaining, so that is awesome. I figured, I've been wanting to get back to basics. Over the past couple of years, I've focused on doing a lot of complex tutorials and a lot of really cool projects to download and paint and stuff like that. And I'm still going to do those. I'm still going to do skulls and cool stuff. But every week to come up with something, a totally new painting, and then work it, it's a lot. And I think I'm starting to miss a lot of the point where the beginner stuff, and we talk about it in every project, but I haven't done bare bones basic in a while. And I really want to focus this year on getting to the initial basics, light, shading. I did a test run with actually Kelly just popped in. I did a test run with Kelly Ross the other day on a vector how-to class and kind of what that would look like and how to do it live. And it was really good. So I got plans for that. I'm really going to hit that this year. But aside from that, I want to do the basic airbrushing, brush control, trigger control. And I've done some in the past. If you look in the description, there's a couple videos on airbrush basics. Like we did this one here. We just switch up cameras here. Did this one, I think about a year and a half ago. It's not the Airbrush 101. It covers, the ball, the sphere, the cube, the star, cylindrical shading, really cool basics. And I want to do some more of this stuff. And the other project I did years back, I don't have the example here. I can see it on the other side of the room. Should have grabbed it. Is the chains. The chain is a vector set that is really great for beginner and advanced because it has a lot that you can do a lot with it, but it uses all the basics. And once you master the basics, this is really easy to do and it looks fantastic. So that stuff I want to focus on is I want to get back to some of the roots. And if you guys like this stuff and people are engaged and share it, talk about it, and we get good things, I'll start doing more. I'll do like this would be light and shade, and then we would do brush control, and then we'll do the portrait stuff or maybe an eye or I want to segment it out into do more and more of that stuff. And some of it will be live and some will be recorded, but I really want to get an attempt to get back on that. And part of that, a lot of you guys who've been around for a while, I had a great DVD out for a while. Well, I thought it was great. A lot of people liked it. But it's on a print called Plotter Mastery, which shows all the tech side behind everything I do. And they're not that conducive to live. So what I want to do is I want to re-record everything modern. And then what my plan is to record how to segment, but offer a live class based on it for those who want to do a live class, do Q&A sessions, things like that. And those who sign up for the class get access to the video. So I got some plans for that too. So yeah, let me show you. That's my plan. I hope you guys think it's going to be worthwhile. Looking at the forums and all the stuff that's going on, and there's a lot of great ones. There's a lot of great information on there, but with a lot of great information, there's a lot of bad information. And I want to lock down basically a library of source material where you can point to and say, this is the way I've done it. This is the way it works for me. And if you do this, if you do this, and that, you'll end up with this result if you practice it. And I want to get a good library of that because there's just so much bad information out there. Like there was one today, some of you guys were on there. Guy was using Harbor Freight airbrushes, which I never recommend because they're horrible. but he was having a lot of overspray problems, and a lot of it's the brushes, but a lot of it's just well, a lot of it's brushes and whatever paint you're using. But the comments in there are like, oh, do 20 psi, do 10 psi, do 30. No, he's doing t-shirt paint. He's be high, but you get a mix of people, and they're not wrong in their head. Oh, 20 psi is good. Well, that's good if you're an illustrator, but not if you're a t-shirt guy. So rather than me and a lot of others having to go and like try to correct or post or get into a pissing contest with someone's like, I know better. I want to do a video where it shows put my money where my mouth is. This is what a brush does at 60 psi. This is what it does at 20. This is what under reduced, over reduced. I want to start doing some content like that. So that all being said, this is what I got going on tonight. Really simple. You could do this with a compass. Okay, I did this with a vector just to make it easy for the class for this video, but you don't need one. It's a circle. It's a circle within a circle, and I did circle. I made it an oval, but we're gonna make all these look three-dimensional. Three-dimensional ball, three-dimensional ring that's soft edges, and a three-dimensional beveled edge. So it looks like almost like if you looked at a car symbol, something like that. The Eclipse is my go-to brush, and I'll be using those tonight. I have plenty of them. Let's grab a few. Regular Eclipse Plus. This is the HPC Plus. This is the Eclipse of the double cutaway, but the heads are all the same, so they all work really the same. And then there's the good old Eclipse Takumi. You can't go wrong with these brushes. I've been using these for over 30 years, and they were your go-to workhorse. Some of these are actually 30 years old. So, yeah, good choice. You won't have a problem. And then, actually, let me go... Excuse me 2 seconds. I'm going to get this panel. I forget I'm on my mic when I'm walking away. But... just going across my studio. This is one of the original chains that we did. I understand what's happening. So, so we're going to do this, and this. So I really want to talk about light sourcing and shading, okay? And it's where everyone struggles. I struggle with it a lot of times, and these are the basics. We did these. Cylindrical, cubes, just how light sourcing plays. Things like this are great to have, cubes, but you don't need to buy these. I just bought them for the hell of it. But what I have here is basically what I'm going to talk about. Let's see, where is my info sheet? All right, so this is kind of what we're working on. This is the basics. I'm going to do the ring and stuff like that as well, but I want to talk about light sourcing. And the biggest mistake a lot of people make in light sources is they forget about reflected light, and that's how their spheres and things kind of look flat. So if you look at the images, the light source is coming down. You can see where it's hitting the bright spot. Most people get the bright spot right, but they miss that reflective light that comes up from the bottom. Unless your ball is floating in the middle of space with nothing around it, there's going to be a reflective light. So you're going to have a core shadow, and the core shadow is going to be between the light source and the reflected light. And that's where that big shadow band is, and then it kind of gradients out. If you look at the chain, because it's a shiny surface, does it in a more, extreme way. It's not as soft. Like transitions are harder. Like shiny surfaces are more crisp. They're reflective. So, but again, you have that primary light that comes down. You have that reflective light that comes up from the bottom. Now you have that middle light. We have a core shadow on both, and I'm going to explain that in the process because it's not really a core shadow in the chain. You're getting a reflection. Okay, so that's what you're seeing across the horizontal edge. Let's see. Am I going to cleanse? Just look at the vectors. I thought you had the koi fish is one. I have no koi fish. I have no koi vectors. The koi is kind of my personal signature style, so I don't really have any koi vectors. I have all the elements. I've done some koi paintings on the video, but I don't have any koi vectors. It's kind of a purpose thing because I'm selfish that way with the koi fish. I should do a more generic koi, so it's more generic and try to paint it. Aside from like my style. Rob, what's happening? Okay, so that's what I got. That's what we're gonna work on. We're gonna work on that. I'm gonna try something new tonight, but let's get the panel set first. Then we'll go into what I'm doing here. Here we go. All right. So I have my panel. Basically, I have that vector. It's super simple. It's not going to be up for download because you can make that yourself pretty easy. You can download the chain. The chain is a file set. It's in the description. Dave the Bug Gregory. The chain has a whole bunch of different chains and different angles and different things like that. So it's definitely a good one to grab. And there's a video on that. That's something, and I've been wanting to kind of revisit it. So this is kind of a cool way to revisit it. Probably still what's happening. So I was around last week. I was actually on a really cool project that I can say what I was working on. I just couldn't show anything. So I was working for this company up in New Hampshire that builds like trade show and event booths, and they were doing a big thing for JBL, which is really, really cool when I get to show it. And they were also building a replica bar for the Peaky Blinders experience for Netflix, which is going to be at South by Southwest in Austin, I think next week or the week after. So it's like a full replica bar of Peaky Blinders, and I did some work on that, and made some things like old and aged and antique and stuff. So I was tied up for the entire 6 days up there. It's only supposed to be a couple. So that's why I couldn't do last week's live feed. Dave the Bug Gregory. Dave, I got your panel I got to send up to you as well. Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to try to reach that goal that I put up tonight. This. Oh, and my panel here, this is an aluminum panel. It's just gray. Did I? I think I did. Hold on. Uh-oh. I think I scuffed it. Yes, I did scuff it. I just want to make sure I scuffed it. What type of material airbrush trying? Oh, yeah. So this is a polymetal panel. So it's aluminum skinned with a poly PVC core. I use these a lot. It's called polymetal. Some you go Durabond. Polymetal is probably the best term for it. Essentially, it's painting on aluminum. I got the Eagle. Not tracking another one. I got the... Oh, maybe that wasn't yours. Oh, you know what? Maybe someone else. Sorry. So this is my first time catching a live. Do you list what your next video will be with the item? Yeah, sometimes I do. It depends on the video. So a lot of times what I do is I'll do a project, and if I have the time, I'll put out a paint list ahead of time and a materials list and things like that. Some of the videos themselves have that already that are not live. But yeah, when I have time, I do try to do a materials list, or at least during the video, I usually go through the materials and things like that. It depends if it's more of a kind of a wing it live feed or if it's really, really planned out. It's like an eco panel, as we call it at work. Okay, yeah, it might be. Let's see if I have the back. Yeah, so these are it's aluminum composite material. This is illuminate. Illuminate. But I've seen Durabond, Duraplast, poly panel. There's a whole bunch of different ones out there, but it basically what it is. It's an aluminum panel. How do I prep? I'll give you that. I got a video on that as well. A couple of shorts on it. So these are a white coated aluminum. So if you look at them like this is the back side. They're a white E-coat gloss. And then for these panels, I usually hit them with 600, or you can use a red Scotch-Brite. And what I did with this, I did a red Scotch-Brite, and then I coated it with 2 coats of gray Autoborn sealer from Createx. Let that dry, and then scuff that back. Joe Walker uses. Yeah, I a lot of times I'll use like just a regular 040, sign panel. But the problem with those is the shipping. They bend. They've actually become more money. The polycore metal is the same aluminum, which is real thin, and it's a PVC core. They're lighter. They're just as durable. They take the paint the same. It's the same E-coat. So I started switching these years ago. I found them a lot better. And yeah, you can just, if you want to leave it white, because you can get these in white and black, and that's what I buy mostly. And I usually order them in a 4x8 sheet. And the nice thing is, and I got a video on it, you cut it with a razor blade, they just snap like a piece of glass, which is great. So if you want to just paint on white or black, you can just scuff them and go. Yeah. All right, cool. Let me, since you can't see these, let's do my little trick of this plotter mask so you can just see what we're going to be doing here. Just going to use a little charcoal so you can see everything. I've done this on a bunch of videos. I don't think I need to explain it too much, but for you new guys, this is a nice quick way. It's just graphite powder or on a paper towel. You rub it in, you can see your cut marks perfectly. There to get aluminum cup is ready available by me. Yeah. Most sign suppliers have them pretty readily. Oh yeah, my first shop was a design company, so yeah, I used to use the regular aluminum panels, but these polymetal panels, I remember when these first came out in the sign industry, we could just V-notch them with a router, and you could bend them and make sign boxes out of them. They were really, really cool. Lightweight sign boxes we used to do. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I gotta grid this out so I can pull off each section at a time. Let me get a blade here. Let me get a straight edge. I didn't put the cut in the middle. I'm just going to give it a... just so I can pull as I go and you can kind of see each one. And we'll get a few different lessons out of this one panel, but they're all going to be about the same. Light sourcing is kind of the key. What do we got here? All right, let's start with the very basics, the very simple light source, the sphere. Okay, the first one is going to be the sphere. And I'm recording this on multicam so I can edit this later. Okay, so you got your basic circle. Okay. And we're going to shade it. Like I said, most people make the mistake and they run their shadow all the way to the edge, and they run their light source way up here, where it should be light source here, shading here. Unless you're doing a rivet, then it changes a little bit, but you always got to remember that secondary light. And so I did this little handy-dandy cheat sheet here. So let's pretend this is the ball. I'm actually going to be coming from, I'll come from this side this time. Light source is coming down, the light source hits here, okay? So that's going to be your hit. When it bounces off reflective surfaces, unless it's floating in darkness of space, it's going to bounce off something. Okay. What is the rule of the dots? Oh, these are Trulers. These are magnetic. They make metal ones. They make sticky ones. They're a measured ruler. These are great. They make all different curves and shapes. So you got your light source coming down. And then your light source will go here. So it's still catching light here. And right about, let me get a pencil. I should have got a pencil. Yeah. So right about this part here, this is where you start going into shadow, okay? And this is like gradient shadow. This is your core shadow right here. This is that darkest area, this part. Because right about here, that's where the reflective light comes back up, okay? So that's what we're playing with here. This will be your main hotspot, and then it'll gradient out, you know, kind of blend into the darkest area here, okay? And that's what we're going to do here with the airbrush, okay? So let's start there, and then we're going to get into these two here, and I'll explain those. But let's do the basic sphere, okay? I've only mixed up 2 colors tonight. I didn't mix them up tonight. For those of you who follow me, you know I mixed these up over a month ago, or probably 2 months now. And this is my my opaque white and my illustration black. This is a 70%. This is 70-30 mix, so 70% paint, 30% reducer. This is 60-40 white. Those white aluminum panels are great for practicing if you don't stuff them. You can wipe it right. Well, you gotta scuff them. If you don't scuff them, I mean, yeah, I guess you could use them for practice, but they're so cheap that you really want to scuff them so the paint adheres right and the paint applies right, because it's going to be a little funky if it's too slick. But you could treat it like glass. Okay, so I'm going to run 2 airbrushes. I'm going to run both Eclipses, basic, nothing crazy, nothing fancy. I'm going to run the black here. And you know, I'm going to make it a little gray. So I'm going to put a drop or 2 of white here. What's the best paint to use? Which ones are you doing? So for my automotive, I use House of Color. That's what my solvent system is. That's what I've used for years. And I've used other stuff, but House of Color is my go-to for custom. I can stack a ton of it. I have 20 plus, almost 25 or more year-old paint jobs with it on there. So my automotive solvent, I use House of Color. For water-based, I use Createx. And again, I've had decades worth of work with Createx. Tonight, I'm using Createx Illustration. And a lot of times I might mix them, meaning like I might base coat a car or motorcycle in House of Color, let it cure. I usually put an inner coat or clear it and sand it. And then I'll do all the fine art. If it's all illustration, I'll do that with Createx. And then for clear, I typically use, because I like to stay in the same system, so I use, for my first round House of Color, I usually do my first round with a UC21, which is their higher build. It's a 2-part clear. That's if I'm going to build anything over graphics, anything like that. And then my final clear for like show finish and buff is the UC01, which is their show clear. There's a lot of other stuff I'll use in the market too. There's some other good brands out there. For collision and stuff, I've always had good luck with PPG. For like color match system, my custom's always House of Color. All right, let's just do a quick little airbrush basic here before we paint it. Yeah, I got those droppers off Amazon. All right, so I can do this in here just as practice, and this is a nice practice sheet. And like I said, you got the light source here coming down, okay? All right, so I'm going to follow the same angle, so we're going to light source this way. So the light source is here, okay? So it means the shadow is not going to be down here. You don't want to put it down here because you got to factor in the secondary light. Your shadow should be right in here, and you kind of almost do a smiley face. And I do a soft blend. I kind of get my area, and I almost kind of create the light source with the first pass of black first. And then for my other pass, I go darker in the shadow there, okay? So what's the main difference between regular Createx, Wicked illustration? That's a lot of information to get through, but so regular Createx is textile t-shirt paint. We'll do this really quick because it is kind of confusing for people. Oops, sorry. Switching cameras. All right, so the major differences. Let's talk about it real quick. With water-based paints and Createx. Regular Createx colors, it doesn't have any of the name. Okay, regular Kratex Colors is textile t-shirt paint, mainly for t-shirts, fabrics, and textiles. That's what it's for. That's its sweet spot. Airbrush, you know, minimum 35 psi. I usually run on 55 to 60 to 65. Straight out of the bottle, no reduction on t-shirts. Heat press it; they last forever, respectively. That's what I do for that. Because when you reduce t-shirt paint, you reduce its ability to bond to the shirt. So you can do a little bit, maybe 5 or 10%. So that's Kratex regular. You can trick it into working on a hard surface, but let's not get the extra confusing. That's regular Kratex. Then you have, let's go in this order. Then you have illustration. Okay, illustration is a more fine art set of colors, non-metallics, non-pearls. And illustration colors have a very fine grained pigment, and their resin is designed to stay softer longer. So, because a lot of illustration use scratching and erasing techniques and different blending techniques, so it stays open longer, and it's designed for illustration boards, papers. You can use them on fabrics and t-shirts. They're not going to hold, like, they're not going to take to washing because they're an illustrator paint. And that's its main function. Now, you can use illustration colors on hard surfaces, but you got to add a 40-50 or 40-30 additive to basically make it into a multi-surface paint. But that's where you come into Wicked. Wicked is a universal all-around paint. It's fine on textiles, but I think the regular Kratex washes better and lasts longer on t-shirt fabrics for like long-term use. But Wicked you have Wicked colors and Wicked opaques, and they have metallics and pearls. That's kind of the automotive line, hard surface, multi-surface, things like that. You don't really need any additives to make it stick to hard surfaces. It's designed to do it. You can add things. That's kind of the major differences between them. Hope that answered. Then there's Candy 2.0. Candy 2.0 is basically a Wicked, is an automotive. Candies get mixed into a 40-50 carrier, which is basically similar to the resin for the Wicked line. Now, going back, you can add 40-50 or 40-30, which is their polyurethane clear kind of carrier. You can add that to illustration colors. You can add that to regular Kratex to make those bond heavy to hard surfaces. I mean, RC car bodies. Right. I would use the Wicked line if I was doing RC. All right. All right. Let's get back into this. All right. So see what I did there. I went here, and then this on white paper, so it's not going to really show. Where is my other Eclipse? But just to give you an FYI, so if you use Proline, is it Proline? Proline is manufactured in the same facility. It's manufactured by Kratex, and it's basically similar to the Wicked line. Okay, so I got my white here. This is going to make more sense when I do the actual panel. And the highlight's going to go here. It's going to go in this area. But you're going to get that. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to put the white up here. And the black down here. Grab the wrong brush. Yeah, Proline is really it's Kratex. It's got some slight variance in different color choices, but it's the same basic structure. Oh. Where did my brush go? Oh. Okay, so let's get to the actual panel. No, I'm fine with that stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's just another relabeled product. Yeah, I got their spray can stuff. They sent me their base coat flake, and it stuck until you wiped it with soft wax and grease remover. Then all the flake came right off. So the binder's probably not that strong, in my opinion. All right, so the light source coming down. Light source is coming down from top down, so we're going to go here, here, like that, okay? So if I'm going to start with the light source so you guys can see it. So if you're painting on a dark surface like black, this is how you do it. Thank you, Dave. Get them super chats in. Since this is obviously a panel, no one's gonna be buying. Okay, so light source is coming down. So just from a distance here, let me swing out to my side cam. Maybe you can see it a little better. So I got a medium distance here, and I'm gonna open the airbrush up. Let me just do this so you can kind of see it. I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna pull about maybe 30 to 40% trigger pull, and I'm gonna do a nice soft stroke. Because remember, I can always come in and tighten it, so I'd rather start out here. I'd rather start soft before I come in for the hard shot. Okay, so that's going to be like where the light's hitting. Okay. Yes, everything counts towards the goal. Okay. So with the shadow, which a lot of times I'll paint with the shadows first, then highlight after. Let's start out same thing. We're going to start out soft. We're just going to do kind of a... I'm not going to do a smiley face down here. If the light was coming straight down, yeah, you could do it. I like to have it a little offset. So start wide. Oh, man, I keep grabbing the wrong brush. I know what's happening. Okay, so right here, I didn't clean my stuff out too good. As you can tell, we're crazy over here. All right, so I'm going to shade like this. Oh my God, is this the white one again? Oh my God. Oh, it's right here. Too many airbrushes. There we go. Okay, same thing here. I'm going to pull the trigger and do basically a soft shade. Because remember, you can always go in and add more. Now, when you're on a surface like this, you got to make sure you get paint everywhere. Oh, Todd, Keith, Ray, bam, bam, bam. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the whole thing with this black just a little bit. I'm going to like C-shape around it. So that's going to give me delineation from the background. Because whenever you're masking something, you got to make sure you get delineation. So look, I can hit the whole thing lightly. And if I pull this mask, you can see a little bit here. And then the hard shadow is going to be right here. Okay, I'm going to go around the whole thing. You can mix up a little gray at first if you want. I'll make it a little transparent. But notice I'm figuring the light source. Here, I'm getting that secondary bounce. Okay, that's what this is. I'm not having to paint it. Now, I can come in now with the white. If I want to make it brighter, I can spray on the stencil material. I'm painting right here, actually. And I'm letting that get all the way up onto the surface here. And I can hit like a really hot spot right in that center. The more chrome-like you want it, the bolder, the sharper you'd want it to be. Like if you wanted chrome, I would work from a photo reference, but you'd want a much harder line from here to there, like a white highlight. And we'll talk about that in the chain more. But you can see if I want it really dark, I can just really hit that hard. But that's a little too much. I got to soften that out. Okay, so that's a really hard shadow, and obviously the harder this transition here, the more close to like a chrome sphere you are. Okay, so that's just a basic sphere. It's something to practice. You can do it a million times. You can just get a circle template. You don't have to get... Is that one of the new custom CSs? Yeah, this is the custom CS. And then what I did, because I love the custom CS double cutaway handle, I modified my Takumi Eclipse and gave it a custom Takumi. So it's the same tall cup and the double cutaway handle. This is the Takumi Eclipse that I tweaked. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Did I get enough delineation? I gotta make sure. I want the sphere to float, and then we're gonna do a quick drop shadow. Actually, I'll do the drop shadow after. Where is my plastic razor blades? Okay, so let's pull this off. Oh, shoot. I want to do that. So now you got a nice floating sphere. See? Simple, easy peasy, basic light sourcing. Remember, the key to that was starting out with a broad, smooth atomization of paint, like a nice soft stroke, and then tightening as you went darker. That gives you more control. A lot of people will do the dark first, trying to blend the dark out. You're always gonna be fighting it. If you start soft and then keep adding more as you go, you'll get a nicer transition. Same thing with the highlights. Start large and soft and work your way into the center point, and you're gonna get a nice, easy, quick sphere. Okay. The donut. Let's do a donut. This is just a circle with a circle in the center. But we got to keep in mind the light source on this. And I want to just so it's a little cleaner, let's cover up this and this. Actually, I'll cover it up afterwards. Anyone any questions on light sourcing and this like that before I move on? Now, the other thing you do is if you want it more chrome, you could have more reflection here. You could have little hot spots down the bottom, like this is a really shiny surface, so you can do that. So that changes the kind of look of it. You can have another reflection here, like it's just got a little extra. And you can even, like if you wanted kind of a chrome look, I don't think I have the right curve here. Let's see if I have the right, no, I don't have the right curve. But if you had something like this, like if you wanted to make it look almost like a pool cue and have a sharp reflection, you could just softly hit a sharp edge like that, and it gives it that like pool cue reflection. We could do kind of like a little gleam. See what I mean? Now that went from soft shading to more of a chrome because it's got a hard reflection. So playing with light sourcing and learning it is really, really going to help. No, it doesn't have to be lighter or darker. I always say lighter amounts of paint to more saturation, because sometimes you work on a light surface, so you want to work dark to light. And if you work on a dark surface, like a black base coat or dark blue or something, you want to work all your lights first and then shade those. You want to work light to dark. So the light to dark is not an absolute, but you kind of pick light to dark or dark to light. I tend to work in the like mid-tones in a lot of my stuff, and then I darken it and lighten it is kind of how I go. But that's a different video, and that's a good topic to do. Is when to go dark to light, when to go light to dark. That would be a cool video. I think that would be that would be a cool video to kind of like dark to light or light to dark, and when and why would be a cool video for future. So that could be one. Okay, let's talk about the sphere. So I don't want to make this flat. I want to make it look like a radius donut, like it's a ring. Okay, so what happens with a ring, when we look at all the different Where's my... Here we go. No, where's my other one? So I created these sheets. Oh, I'm gonna love live broadcast. Okay, I'm just gonna put those back here. Where did I put it? I just had it. It was like this one, but I was just drawing on it. Ah, here we go. It moved. We can edit this stuff out later. All right, so the next one is basically if I cut this donut in half and looked at the side, I want this. This is what I'm looking at, okay? So what you're going to have here is the light hits here and here because they're coming down. And the shadows, just like here, this is where the shadow area is. And you'll get some secondary bounce light off this one, right? And you get less on this one. But the shadow is all in here because this is the shadow area. Because the light's not hitting here because it's going past the spheres. And when we do a drop shadow, that's what will cause this. The light starts coming down. This area is shadow. This area is shadow with this little secondary bounce. So you start figuring that out. And how... Airbrush power, what's going on? I'm going to show you guys this. I have this queued up. Let's see if this works. This will be your first time trying this on the feed. We're going to go to camera 8 and switch. This is Adobe Illustrator. Photoshop. And this is kind of what taught me how to understand light source way back in the early days. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Dan. I kind of felt like my feed's been getting so complicated, so complex that I was starting to miss a lot of the basics. And it was harder for followers and new guys to follow without the basics. Let's go here. All right. Mike McClung, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's zoom in on this sphere. So this is just a sphere cut out. Like I said, this is how I learned it a while ago. I got this layer here, and I'm not going to do a Photoshop tutorial, but this is kind of how I learned a lot of my light sourcing. I use the bevel feature for bevel emboss, and I can change like the depth and how much something moves. So depth makes it crisper like that, or you can soften it out, and you got all these controls. So I used to mess with this. So this is the light angle right here. So if I move the light around, see how it shifts and changes? If I put the light from the bottom, everything shifts. This is how I started figuring out complex stuff a long, long time ago. Ray Shea, what's going on? Oh, have a good one. Sorry, not what's going on. Have a good night. Thank you. So this is where I started getting understanding of how light works. And, if there's a lot of basic software that can do this. But it was just a nice way to figure something out. And for the other project after one, this is where I did something a little crisper. This is a hard edge bevel, okay? So basically, when we go here, the next one is going to be, this first one, the donut's going to be soft. The next one's going to be a hard bevel. Hard edge, flat top, hard edge. And how the light plays on that. So we're going to play with that as well with this. And that's why I did this one, which is my layer 2. It's immediate. So live just goes, as soon as it's over, you can just go back in and watch it. Then I'm eventually going to edit this down shorter, Joe. That's kind of the plan, is I'll do these and then I can take this content, because it is a multi-cam. It's a 4-camera shot. then I can take that and make it a more condensed video. So that'll be available when I get around to it. Really slam these days. But yeah, you can go back and watch this anytime you want. Tater salad, thank you very much. So with this one here, this is a all I did with this one, same thing, bevel and emboss. I made it a hard chisel, and with this you can like change the depth, and you can change the size of the bevel. You know, it's a great way to figure out how to do stuff. You can soften bevels, you know what I mean, things like that. And you can change the light direction just to see how light plays. It's a good tool. Joe, have a great night. It's a great tool to help learn. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of how I came up with this, and how we're gonna approach this right here. Okay, so all that being said, that's why I keep that from getting overspray on it. Let's tackle the donut. Okay. And donut is like the same as any cylindrical shading, it's just radius. But what you got to watch out for on this is when light's coming down, the highlight's hitting here, the shadow's hitting here, like this, right? But as soon as you come past this point, now the light is hitting here, and the shadow is hitting here, the opposite side. Because it's radius, okay? And when you look at the side, that's what it's doing, like light, dark, light, dark. So it oscillates, it's the opposite of each other. Yeah, Airbrush, exactly right. You know, sometimes I paint light to dark, sometimes I paint light for dark, dark for light. It depends on the substrate, the surface, and, you know, like I said, the end result. Because sometimes painting light over dark gives you a different result than dark over light. Kelly Ross. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so let's talk about this. I'm going to do it with just shading. I'm actually going to make this a little grayer and a little bit more transparent because I think it's a little too black for what I want. But yeah, there's a set of rules everyone gets, like, oh, you got to paint dark to light, or you got to paint light to dark. The rule of thirds, and they're all true to a point. They're all kind of guide. It's like the pirate code. They're more guidelines than rules. So what would you paint? What would you paint to use the donut premise? So what would you paint to use? All right. So think of if you're doing when you're doing flames, or when you're doing things that loop around. Like say this was a letter C, or say this is a letter O in lettering, and you want to be a three-dimensional O. If you want to be a letter C, you want to be a snake skin that coils. It's going to have that same highlight, shadow as things keep swerving. And that's kind of the goal of this, is just do the basic, and then understand how these fit into something more complicated. And this is going to be part of the chain. So everything we're doing here is basically going to be an elongated oval, and that's what's going to come in the chain. So everything we're doing here, here, and here is going to go into making a chain look more real. So when you understand this, this, and this goes way easier, looks way better. Okay, so shadow. Light's coming down, light's hitting here. This part's in shadow, and as it comes around, it's going to start catching light again here. Okay, so let's just go, let's start right in here. I'm going to go shadow. I'm going to paint right on the stencil so you can see it kind of go in. We'll add a secondary light, but I'm just going to do a very soft shade like that. Then from the bottom, I'm going to come out here and do the same thing. And right here, it starts catching light again. But now that I have that, I'm just going to kiss the whole thing a little bit. Now I'm going to do the core shadow. So remember the core shadow was the darkest area right in the center. And so I'm going to stay off the bottom. I'm going to kind of ghost in the middle. No stencil. I'm going to really hit that hard right there. Okay? Notice how I left that secondary light. So, Michael, that's when you get to more complicated light sourcing. Right now, we're doing basic, so single top-down light source. Okay? Once you understand, and this is where people get ahead of themselves. They try to do, oh, I want a blue light from here and a candle light from here and a red light from here. Great. You're going to really get that, but you got to understand the basics first. So this is rudimentary single top-down light source, how it plays. Once you understand that and you get that down, it looks really good. Then you start adding secondaries and you start adding all those different things. But you got to understand. I see a lot of people online who start to get this and they get too complicated and they lose it. So now, this is also good freehand control. So notice I'm building that shadow. And this is not going past this because the way the light's coming down. I'm just coming, this one it was kind of at an angle. This one I'm just coming straight down. Obviously, if you shifted it, it'd be coming from more an angle. It gets really complicated. But let's keep it simple. Keep it just nice and soft. You can actually drag it out to the sides if you want. But even that by itself looks good. Now, just again, to get delineation from the surface, I'm just going to kiss the whole thing. I'm trying to visualize an object or painting besides donut. Yeah. So, like I said, what's going on here is exactly what we're going to do on the chain. So if you look at a chain, it's just a stretched out donut. So we're going to have that same shadow down here. It's going to flip, highlight, same premise. Okay, now the highlight. Right here, I'm going to stay right. I'm going to hit really heavy right here and let it soften out. So it's got a nice crisp. And let it fade out when it starts to come around the top. And then here. Woo. Taking my time. I think my vent hole is plugged. Here we go. Jonathan Barr says thank you. So same thing right here. I can go a little heavier. And if you want to make it more chrome, you can get a little crisper like that. See how that? You get that nice three-dimensional out of it. Again, super simple shape, but I see a lot of guys getting into airbrushing and they lose these. They don't lose it. They never learn these fundamentals. A lot of us don't. A lot of us who, like for the past 5 years of doing doing online instruction, all my stuff was starting to get really complex and complicated, which is cool. And all this is in there, but I didn't really show the fundamentals, and I wanted to get back into that. So just like here, if I make these lines crisper, it starts becoming more reflective, like a harder edge. Yeah, neon, I've done that. Neon plays differently because neon emits light, so you got to paint it a totally different way. The premise of the light source kind of the same, but you work with all light. All right, so now this here should look nice and clean. There is my plastic razor blade. I really got to do a better job of keeping my tools in line. The top has it appears to be thicker than the bottom. Yeah, a bit. Just depends how it's sitting. And to remedy that, you could just bring this down a little more like this. And it starts to look almost the same. It's just where the shadow's fixed. And I'm not doing this from a photo reference. And if it was like I said, more chrome, you can have this a little heavier. But it's the premise we're going after. Like now that tells your eye, because lighter is closer, darker pushes back. So this tricks your eye to thinking it's actually cylindrical and it's not just flat. When I put a drop shadow in here later, we're going to talk about it at the very end, it'll make it, it'll make it more sense. But again, this is basic 101. But a lot of you guys, I see a lot of you guys, a lot of people out there miss it. Is your templates to purchase? Is it Canadian? Everything's in US. Unless you purchase from, what's going on? Like Maple Airbrush Supply sells my my stencils and my pocket graphics and things like that. So that would be in US. I mean, that would be in Canadian. Again, and I'm not going for like full photorealism here. I'm just trying to give you the basic premise of shading. Okay, so sphere, donut. Like, so if you're doing a snake skin, this is what you want to keep in mind. If you're doing a letter, if this was letter C or letter O in a logo, this is what you want to understand. And as things double back, and I think my more complex one, and I don't have it because I think it sold a while ago. Well, this one plays. But I know one of my other lessons, which is the tribal skull, that goes over this as well. When you do like the hooked and curved tribals. But like all of this gets you to achieve that. Okay? If you look here, these rivets play with the dark and light, flipping. The sides play with the dark and light. All these tubes have the same premise of how shading works. The cheekbones and the skull play exactly the same way as this. So that's why, you learn these fundamentals and this is, soft shading. Now I'm going to show you is these same techniques on a hard edge, and it's going to give you a more beveled, carved look. And then we'll do the chain. Oh, so what I did is it's my straight black, and then I probably added 20% of this to make it a little grayer. So it's a slightly transparent black, and I added some of my opaque white just to make it a little grayer. I very rarely, unless I'm doing t-shirts, use a straight black. All right, let's just do this here, just to keep it clean. This is a nice little simple trick I learned from Driscoll. Just fold over your tape like that. It makes an overspray barrier. It just deflects it up, so you don't have to like tape the whole thing. All right, so this ring, I'm not gonna say donut. This is kind of like if you're doing a Ford logo, or if you're doing like, a medallion, or even this technique I use on tribal blades a lot because it's gonna do the same thing. So all I did is an oval with an inner line on both. So I'm just gonna pull both of these out. Use my trusty plastic razor blades here. I'm going to pull that one out. And these are much faster because all I'm going to do here, honey, you rule. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we got our white. We got our black. This one's really simple, but we're going to make this a hard edge. So same locations as this. I'm going to paint on the stencil or on the mask, not stencil. Same thing. See how it starts to transition? I'm going to come onto the stencil here like this. And really heavy there. Okay? Just like that one. Now the other side, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go on the outer side like here. I'm going to kind of smiley face around. The part 2 of this is going to be like a tribal blade, something really sharp. Okay? Because this will lead into the more complex stuff. But you got to understand this first. So watch, I come around here like this. I keep it really dark. But this light's going to catch here. The light's going to catch here. And if you look at that on the profile here, I just shaded this one. And I just shaded this one. Okay? That was here and here. And now I take the white. And the white, I follow the, I flip it. So I'm going to the outer up here. Same thing, I'm going to come in here like this. Okay. And now I hit, see I stayed outside here. I stay outside here like this, like it catches that light really heavy. I haven't done one of these in a while. It might not look right. With like anytime you do tribal or sharp things, you want to make sure you get good coverage. You can have a little spillover, like this can kind of hit the edge a little bit, just to get delineation. And you'll see what I mean when I pull the mask. And I'll usually go back in. Whoops. Just spit paint. Now we're going to make this a little textured. But just make sure this one comes up and this one dives back in to give you that light source, that proper light source. Right, and this is where a lot of people make mistakes because they don't understand these basics. They don't spend the time to learn how things reflect. So then we want to make this look like a flat top. Oh, I just scratched the paint with that blade. Should plastic. I don't really have, see, I didn't do enough delineation there, but it still works. But I should have had a little more white on this edge, and that's where I kind of messed up. So what I could do is, I'll show you a trick for doing this. I'm going to take this. Where's my cutting mat? I should have saved that. Because see how right here you lose it, and right here you lose it? Watch. Let's do this. I'm going to take, I'm going to hand cut this inner. It's not going to be perfect, but you'll get the premise. In most of our early day tribals, before plotters, this is how we did it. So to give the top surface a little bit of reflectivity, what we can do is, oops, I'm going to, because it's a little janky right there, but watch. What I'm going to do is, this was the light side. So on this flat top surface, I'm just going to kiss it a little bit with some dark. And maybe I'll go a little directional. I'll kind of go one side like this. And now it starts to pull that edge out. And on the other side, where it's dark, you can give it some light, and it starts to look like it curls in a little more. And you can keep doing that. You could cut more, and you could just loosely come across. I wish I had a little more contrast there, but let me see if I can do it with curve. Let's do this. This is why it's great to have paper. Okay, so now I can take this one, it's a little too light right here. Now I can hit this like this and just do a little flat top here, little reflection. We'll do a little reflective kind of angle light like this. And now it starts to look like a chrome kind of O. And then we can do the same thing by adding a little white. And you just play around with it. But now you'll get that same kind of feel. When I pull this, it should look like a more floating metal plate. Oh, and obviously, like I said, you can do a lot more with it, a lot more reflections and refractions. But it looks like you can almost reach under it. And what's going to really sell that is a drop shadow. Okay. So if we float a shadow like this, really soft, now it starts looking dimensional. I'm not going to do it on here because I'm going to get a line. Same thing here. The sphere light's coming this way, the shadow would be here. So whenever you see me doing skulls or beveled edges or blades or things like that, yeah, it can look like a magic mirror frame. You know, these basics of understanding light, dark, light, dark. Now, if the light was coming from this direction, it'd be light here, light here, dark on here, depending where it comes from. And that's something you can play around with. Oops. There. So if I played around with that light angle, and here, let's do a different color. So let's give it a blue light or purple light. Let's do it like this. Okay, just so you can see it. If you change the direction, the light hits from different angles. And someone said, oh, what if the candles come from one way? Well, That's fine. We can do that. Like, you know, if the shadow wasn't a shadow and that was a different color, like that was a red light coming from the other side, the red light would hit here, the purple light would hit here, and if you rotate it around, it would move. If it was underneath, it would do that. So Photoshop's a great tool to play with to kind of give you some understanding. And from that side versus this, it reads three-dimensional. It doesn't read flat on the surface. Make sense? Now, let's put this into practice on the set of chains, because that's going to be a much cooler look. Going to zoom in a little more. Do this a little more. Let's go here. Okay, so with this all being said, the ring and how that all works, and I want to just check something here. Is the stream pretty stable? I got a warning that it might be a little glitchy. I'm not sure. Good, very helpful. Good. That's what I really wanted on this. Okay, let's do the chains. Let's take what we learned here about light and shadow and light sourcing, and let's put this into practice on a chain. Okay, so this is the chain file I did years ago. But the cool thing about chain, not only is it three-dimensional, you have to do with above and below. Okay, when you see this chain here, the vertical link, they protrude out and they cast a shadow under here, like in this area. They cast a shadow. They cast a shadow, but they're not straight shadows because chains are curved. So the shadow actually kind of bends with the radius. Like this. And if we look at the reference image, let's see if I can bring up that. I think it's going to take up. So you look up the reference image, you can see how it's not a master shadow, but everything bends. All the light reflections bend. No issue, my end? Good. Okay, cool. There was a warning that my bit rate might have been a little low, but I think it went away. So I was hoping the stream was happy and healthy. All right. So these chains, the sideways chains, are more on top, creating shadows here. Okay. So what I like to do, and I usually try to save these. I'm going to pull all the bottoms. And the tops. And I usually just keep them aside. This will make a lot of sense. Okay. So this is the chains on its side, and these are them kind of horizontal. So these ones get painted last because they cause a slight shadow here. The only thing, I didn't go right to the edge here, so I'm just going to do a little repair. A little repair. This one looks good. The wells on the link show a tiny shadow across the link. The welds in the links show. Yeah, so I'm going to get to these where these welds, but I'm not getting there. Taylor, you're getting ahead of me. Trying to do this in an order. Okay, so when you look at links, and we're going to get to the link, there's little bumps here, okay? We're going to take care of these bottom edges first. Then we're going to come around and we'll talk about these, and we'll talk about how this all plays in. Because we do the shadow, we don't want to go straight across. We want to, play with this bump and how that kind of relates. So, keeping it simple, this lower ring here is a lower ring here. Okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a nice soft shadow right down the bottom of all of these. And again, I'm not doing photorealism here. This is just basic understanding of how these links work. And then I do a core shadow just off the bottom, like that. Okay, again, basic, simple. Getting some secondary light coming up here. Repeat it again. I'm not doing the heavy lines yet because those are for the end. But it's just the base reflection, core shadow. It was a little far down there, but we're fine. Okay. Now I'm going to do this first one soft without doing the line break. So I'm just going to go across the bottom like this. Okay. Very soft. Very soft. Okay, just kept a nice little shade. Then what I do to make it easier is I just use a straight edge, business card, plastic razor blade, whatever you got. If you're using a razor blade, do you just have a favor? Make sure you put a piece of tape over the hole, or you're going to get a dot. And then what I do here is I put the edge here, and I do a soft little stroke. That way, I usually stay the same way, because when you do a big chain, like a whole bunch of them, it's easier. You don't want to go, When I go, boom, I go to the next one, just a little bit, subtle, that one you can't see. Then I flip it around, like this. I do this side. Like that. And then I soften those right up to here. So notice how this one's curving to the inside here. This one's shadows coming to the outside here, just like this did. Okay, inside, outside. Is that Mr. Leahy popping in? Hi, Steve. Steve, I gotta say, it's impressive. The Japan painting being finished. It's amazing. Looks great. Killer job. Okay, so now what I do here is just how this has a little bump. This is going to have a little radius. So I just kind of freehand it a little C shape or a little U, just whoop, like that. And then I can darken this. Okay, then what I do is I let this cast a little shadow, and the shadow should radius down. So I just go like this. So kind of downward C. So that way it's like this link is casting a shadow with the way this ring moves. And I just repeat. We're going to get into like reflections. We're going to get into like reflections and things like that. See how this is really bright, dynamic, and chrome. We're going to get into that, but we're going to keep it a little simpler. I'm not going for photorealism. We can get there, but you're never going to get to this full realistic chrome looking until you understand the simplified basics, and that's what we're going for here. Okay, now I'm going to hit a little bit of here, a little bit of shading, a little bit of shading, just to get delineation for this top one. And realistically, I could mask and not have anything here, make this top darker. It starts to get a little confusing, especially if you're not going for photo reference. Okay. And again, what I try to do here, before I go to my highlights, I try to kind of mist the whole area. Well, outside the area, so I get delineation on the whole silhouette of the shape. So that way it doesn't, like, I had that happen a little bit up here where the top wasn't quite bright enough and I kind of lost the definition. Had this not been live, I probably would have redone this segment so it was perfect. But live, you're seeing this in real time. And that's why I like doing these videos like this, because you actually see the reality of what happens. And then you can fix it. You just, you got to fix it. Hold on, did I lose focus on that? Let's see here. No, out of focus. Better focus. Okay. You're all making my Thursday much better. Well, I hope to make your days brighter, Steve. Okay. So to make this more efficient, what I should do is I should do the white. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that because that's the way I would normally do it. Now, before I do the other links, you can do all this, and then you can do these links, or you can do all the dark on everything, and then go back. It just depends how you want to do it. I want to do it this way. I'm going to start here. Now I'm going to highlight the top the same way that I just did, and now I'm going to stroke out to here like that. I'll do this one again so you can see it happen. See how you get that nice little link. I reckon it'd be. Adam, have a good night, man. Yeah, 0300 definitely comes early. By the time I'm doing this, I'm going to go play some Resident Evil to about 0300 my time. Wonderful weekend. Yeah, you as well, man. Thank you for popping in. Appreciate it. Okay, so I did that side. Now, same thing. I'm going to come here. I'm going to come off that edge the same way. I kept it soft, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and do like a hard highlight. The nice thing with chains is you can get away with a lot, because if they're a little shaky, it's just a reflection of the chain. Okay, same thing here. Opposite of what I did down here. I'm just going to do a little U. And again, we can go in and do reflection lines and all sorts of little things after. So now here, like this. Same as this. Okay, so this right here is this right here. It's soft. I mean, I'll go in and we'll do some like reflections like this at the end, like really sharp and crisp. But I like to, when I do like motorcycles like this, and I did a whole bike like this a long time ago, you really want to get into a rhythm so you stay consistent across the whole motorcycle. That's really important. Okay. Nice, Dan. All right, now so that's the sideways, that's the flat links. Now we'll do them turned on their side. And they run a very similar premise. Oop. So this chain link file, and the chain link file has a lot of extras with it, is up on the site, so you can download it, and it's got different loops and different chains and a whole bunch of different things. Silhouetted chains. It's not just a basic. It's not just this. It's this with a whole bunch of extra chains. I wish I brought. Oh, you know what I can do? Because I have a computer here. So if you go to mckfineart.com or airbrushdownanddirtytricks.com, and you search products for chain. Let's see, does this have everything here? Yeah, so you get the basic chains, these links, repeating, it's a repeating pattern, but you also get this. Can I zoom in? Well, that's stupid. It doesn't let you zoom in. So that chain file comes with this basic link, like this, but it comes with all of these as well. Ones that are silhouetted, it comes with a silhouette version and one with all the cutaways. So everything's in there. It's $15. It's a really cool thing. We use this on the drawbridge of the Dragon project. I've used these in backgrounds. You know, I use this file a lot, and it has a nice reference image here. That's kind of what we're going for. And there's an older video I did years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, which shows you how to do a chain on a white, a chain on a black, and a red chain glow. So that's all up on mckfineart.com or airbrushdowndirtytricks.com, which is right there. So the strainers and all my other crap's on there. What you see there on my name? Huh? Consistent happy little mistakes, yep. Oh, by the way, anyone up in the Michigan area, I'm going to be in Michigan teaching a class in 2 weeks at Adepticon on painting minifigures, tabletop minis. So that's coming up. All right, let's wrap this thing up. All right, so let's get the horizontal chains done. Michael Cohen. I think we're getting close. I set a goal for myself. It doesn't really total me up to the end. But... oh, yeah. All right. $87 in super chats. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Rinse and repeat. Back to what we did here. And instead of putting mask on, I just used a blade. Same thing like here. And if I need to, say if I needed a more shadow, I can just stick this right down like this. And I can hit it. And it stays nice and crisp. But before we get into that, let's do this. Same thing. Shadow. Shadow. There's the other side. Sorry for my hands in the way. Shadow. Shadow. Then I tighten them up. And just like how this guy's kind of creep up the side, because remember this chain's going back, I kind of radius up like this here. And then do that little smile, like reverse smiley face there. You just mist over the whole thing. Easy peasy. Oops, I missed a link. Go in here like here, same thing. And just radius up around the corner. And like I said, you know, I do a lot of stylized realism, where I want things to look like they believable, look, you know, tangible. But I don't spend hours and hours doing photorealism. It's just not my thing. And in custom motorcycles and cars, which is basically what I do, you want to have that pop. So a little bit of stylized goes a long way. Okay. White. Now I come across like here. Same thing. Nice soft shade. Do the other side, same thing. I'm just going to do this so you can see it. And there you go. Now we'll do the little reflection shape. And that gives you the basics of the link. But so what I do now that everything is here, I usually mist over the whole thing to make sure everything's covered. You can take like a little stencil like this and add a little detail grit to the chain if you want to have fun with it. And then what I like to do is we're gonna make this paint a lot thinner. And I'm going to add some details. I'm going to wrap this puppy up. Okay. So now, what I do a little reflection light and hook up like here. You could actually do a little core reflection light at the edge of the chain. We can actually go here, darken that up a little bit. I'm going to do a heavier shadow on the bottom. Just to give a bigger separation. I'm going to do a little more at the top here like this. Just to give, again, a little better separation. I'm going to come up like that. Right out of there. You can just see how that kind of gives it a little bit. Like that reflection's coming out. Let's see how it looks from this angle. I'm going to switch cameras here in a sec. Sorry. Try to focus that in. But you see how you start getting that? It looks like that chain's coming up from underneath that one. Just really playing around with reflections, but my base structure is in. So this is where, from a customer standpoint, if your customer doesn't have the budget for hours and hours, you can leave it like this, and that customer's gonna be happy. It looks good. The customer spent enough money to really like go nuts. Now you spend the rest of the day doing little details and making it perfect. Little reflections, little chinks in the chain, little things like that. Extra reflections. Little wiggles like it's reflecting something in the ground, maybe. And if it's like super chrome polish shade, you make everything crisper. Yeah, and Jonathan, this is the best part about doing this. And you're so right, because when you do this project, you spend all this time masking in this kind of space, and it looks cool, and then it just looks even better when you pull the mask. The same thing when I hit nice little hard edge there, hard edge here. We got this one. So you see the difference. Watch this area. See, that looks like it's on top, but watch when you do this and just add a little bit of hard reflection coming out, a little hard shadow. It just gives you a much better look. Like a little shade. You could scratch this. You could do all sorts of, like this chain's reflected down to this one. Really just play around here for as long as you want. You can add a little darkness up the top if you want. And I'm going to put this puppy to bed. Trying to decide a little dab of blue. Yeah, you could do a little blue to make it chrome. Maybe I'll play around with that. Let me see. What I have any blue? I don't have any mixed up. Yeah, if you took a little blue here, then you can start adding. Again, I wanted to kind of stay basic black and white, keep it simple, but then you could do a little bit of, if you wanted that classic like hot rod chrome, you could do a little brown candy down here, a little blue in the top for the white highlight, and get that kind of beach to sunset sky. We can do a little reflection up here. This. You can really, it's endless. And then you can send it home with some really heavy reflections, really bright. But everything we learned here, light source, light source, light source, where dark and light and how things flip, that is what makes this possible. If you try to do this first without learning like this, I guarantee you won't look this good. You learn this, you get here. Again, you could do hours of refinement. You could study the real chain and pick out every little actual reflection and light, like a master class, like from Drew Blair, where you can sit there and you really make that chain perfect. And that's cool for illustration. But if you had to do, and I've done this, we did a 60-foot tow truck with chains all over it on both sides. So if you want to do 100 and something feet of chain photorealism and spend 2 weeks on it, you can. But you got to make it look good from a distance and pop. But this gives you those basics. And then, just to be, I need better airbrush stands than my card solution. I'm just going to make sure I get coverage here on everything. I'm just going to mist it. Nope. I overtape that one. You know, you can do a little crack in the chain too. Like this little stress crack's going to happen. Happy little stress crack, as Bob Ross would say. damage. Let's see how we look. Pull the mask. Then we'll talk a little bit of drop shadow here. Ta-da! Now that chain looks like it's floating. And we're just going to do a light, that model of a tow truck. That was a fun spot, yeah. So now, same thing, a little, how I did this shadow here, soft. Now it looks like that one's floating. Same thing, the chain. I'm just going to go here like this some distance. A little bit of distance in here. Have it float very soft and subtle. Doesn't have to be much. Then we can do some heavy reflections. Just if I keep grabbing the wrong brush, I'm going to huck it across the. Oh my God, I really did a bad job of arranging my airbrushes tonight. It's killing me. There we go. Sorry. Let's give a little hard reflection right here. A little gleam. Oh, no more white. Can you get us closer? Yeah, I went at wide shot just for you can see the shadow effect. But now you can see it almost looks like I put my hand underneath. And if I add a little light gleam here, we'll do another little one right here. Yeah, simple. You know, you can come in here, we can add other reflections. Spend as much time as you want, or as little. You can add some secondaries coming up from the bottom. Like that. There's all sorts of stuff you can do here. Add a little more reflection of the ball. Add another little one here. Make a light gleam. Get a little tip. If you make a mistake, like right here, I was a little bit, doubled over. That light gleam hides it. But yeah, this is kind of your basic three-dimensional shading 101. Understand light sourcing. It's just like this is another quick one I've done often. If you want to do a bullet hole, here's a hole. We're just going to do 1, 2. Okay. All right, just like a simple hole. If I put the little shadow on the bottom, it looks like it's coming out. If I do it from the top, it looks like it's going in, and the effect gets better. So if I do a little highlight down the bottom, and do a little highlight from the top, this one looks like it's coming out at you, that one's going in. Just by understanding basic light sourcing. And when you do rivets, it's the same thing. So let's do a rivet. Let's do a single rivet right here. So if I do a shadow on the bottom like this, right? Okay, and then I take the positive and I do the shadow at the top, that rivet looks punched in. If I highlight it, it'll look even better. So watch, I'll do a little highlight here. And then I'll take that same positive and I'll do the bottom. And that looks like it's been punched in. If you do it bigger, you can do this with two, one small circle and one heavy. Oh, John, I think I have that. I don't know which art circus you're at, but I might have that one. This was one of the art circuses we did, like a metal plate with the chain coming out of it. Did a couple of these. So watch, that's the rivet like kind of punched into the metal. Now I'm going to do this one. So watch, I'm going to go here like this. Okay, then I'm going to take a bigger circle. And I'm going to go from the top. All right, then I'm going to take the white. I'm going to do the opposite. No, it was a 3 chains. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to take the same one. Now I'm going to go highlight the top. And go here. At the bottom. So now it looks like it's like punched in a little deeper. See? So that's soft. And that's kind of like a hard inset. So all these basics of understanding light source top down. This is basic top down light source. Single light source. We can get into double, tertiary, 3, 4 lights, up light, down light, side light, rim light, key light. This is just basic top-down light sourcing. This is what you need to master first and get it ingrained to muscle memory. All your paintings from skulls to portraits to flames to fire to drop shadows, everything looks so much better once you get this down. Basic ball, cylindrical shading, in this case a donut, hard edge bevel shading, multi-angle, and that allows you to do the chain. And understanding that will give you this cool bullet holes, punched in rivets, things like that. All this stuff makes all the difference. And I think everyone just needs to spend some more time on the basics, and you'll start really bringing your work to a whole new level. If you do that. And I think that's it, guys. I think that concludes our show for the evening. I think we'll do a little bit of wispy smoke as a bonus. Coming out here. Smoke. There you go. Super simple, super fun. I hope you enjoyed a little Airbrush 101, little basics. I'll figure out what I'm going to do next week. I'm going to be out of the shop and studio again for a few days. I'll be back on Thursday, so I'll see if I can put something together. So if you want, put some comments in here. Message me on my socials. Let's get my socials here. That's really there. Any ideas you'd want to see for basics and 101s, and I want to do some 101s, and then we'll do some intermediates. You know, aside from, I'm still going to do some cool paintings, real fire and skulls, and images and portraits, and all that stuff. But I really want to get a series of these knocked down, and then I can edit them in, and then that way you guys can refer to them a lot easier. And then that's also going to lead to the basics class. Thank you, Bobby. I'm gonna, like, I practiced one with Kelly Ross earlier, well, yesterday actually, on doing vector work and how to do vector design in Adobe Illustrator. And it was a good thing I did, because what I assume people know is not what everyone knows, so it's going to be good. So we're going to formulate some class on there for that will be paid member content. So we got some stuff in the works. So I really hope you guys like this. I really hope you got a lot out of it. Definitely practice it. You don't need to buy this vector. Please do. It helps me. But circle template, compass with a blade, circle cutter. Understand top-down light source, single top-down light source. And then, you can flip it. And now it's the opposite. Now everything's uplighting. Okay, so if you were doing candlelight from below, this would be your light source. And then nothing up top. Yeah, and all these just flipped. So like now this one looks like it's going in, and this one's coming out. And now that one's going in and that one's going out, because it tricks your eye. So I hope you enjoyed this Airbrush 101 fundamentals, light sourcing and shading. It's probably one of the most important things you can learn. When I finally got this committed to memory and really focused on understanding the light source and shading, everything changed. My traditional old school flames changed. My tribal blades, my interweaving Celtic knots. Once I understood dark and light and shading and how to make things look cylindrical or shaded properly, everything fell into place. Really, really did. Like I said, my skulls look better because I understood how cheekbone shadow works and eye socket shadow work. My flames look better. My fire looked better. Tubes, when I did biomechanical, looked better. And the main key was this fundamental that I didn't learn when I was younger. I didn't pay attention in art class very well. Once I learned it, everything changed. So really take the time to focus on it. It's like learn to play guitar or drums. You got to get those basic chops down. You got to commit to muscle memory. And once you do, everything else is great. So I hope this works. Everyone have an awesome weekend. I'll see you on the next one. Airbrush Down Dirty Tricks. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun jazz. I really need it. Really appreciate it. We got to get this channel. I think we can hit 14,000 in the next month or so if we get it. We're like 13.6, 13.7. So we need 300 people. Get them. Go out and recruit. Spread the love. Talk to you guys later. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Peace.